Well, welcome to The Journey. My name is Kevin Polky. I am the host of The Journey. And for many of you, you know that the Journey is uh, a podcast that I started a couple years ago to capture individual stories of transformation, how obstacles that come upon us in our life, just natural aspect of life, there will be obstacles. Instead of fighting against those obstacles, instead of thinking that somehow what is this outside entity or something doing to go against my journey, maybe there is a teacher or opportunity for growth within the obstacle. We also do reflections, and during those reflections, it's an opportunity for me to share some things that I'm pondering on or just reflecting on in general. Sometimes they are aspects of that I may be experiencing in my own life. Other times, it may be something that. Maybe something that is something I've come across. So today we are going to continue our journey talking about the topic of stillness. One of my favorite times of the day is in the morning, and there is this element for me, and has always been. I remember early on in my grade school, and then later in high school, I had a grade school, late grade school, early middle school. I had a paper route. It was just one day a week, but I remember going out and delivering those papers in our subdivision on that Wednesday morning, and I remember waking up early and how still everything was, how quiet everything was. And then later, when I was in high school, helping a friend of mine with his paper route, as well as the paper route that I had, um, that there was this element that it seemed different at um, at that time of the day. It wasn't as busy. There wasn't as much people moving around. A year ago, when COVID was happening, and we were fully embraced in the quarantine, I remember that even at a normal time, a 6 or a 7 in the middle of summer, when it would normally be busy and bustling and there'd be noise, there was a stillness or a quietness that was happening. For me, the reason why I like this time in the morning, typically it's, I get up and I do my workout. And then after my workout, take the opportunity to go outside. And as I'm going outside to just sit, um, and sometimes I'll do breathing exercises. Other times I will read a devotion or something that I'm studying at that particular time, and then I have an opportunity just to reflect. And in that moment of meditation and reflecting, it seems to happen that I start noticing and become acutely aware of the birds singing or rustling in in the bushes nearby, or some small four-legged is rustling around. That I notice as I open my eyes, that it almost appears that the wind is dancing with the trees as the leaves move, or the as I take a deep breath in, and the smells of just nature in general. Everything seems to slow down during this time period for me. And mostly what is really slowed down is me. And what is it about me that's really slowed down? It's been my thinking. Um, it's that it's that for me, that there's times when I'll get up and I'll wake up and I'll have something on my mind, and that workout will help me get my brain or my thinking to slow down. But I know that I have to be very intentional about putting myself in that space, that it doesn't just come easily for me, that I have to work at being intentional about that. Because it seems like this idea of being intentional, of letting go and putting aside for the moment. Sometimes it's distractions, sometimes it's problems, sometimes it's my to-do list of things that I need to do. I have to remind myself that this is only going to be for a short amount of time, that I'm going to be able to do this because the day is going to get started and it's going to call me into that, which would then give me permission to just be. Other times I'll have to move. I have to do this thing to move. Um, it helps me to move, as I mentioned earlier, with exercise or going for a walk, because I need to burn off those stress chemicals, and being able to do that then allows me to get in that space. See, after I work out, after I go through some type of movement, it's not that anything is necessarily different. It's just that I'm in a different space, and that is where I need to be, or I just keep on going on this vicious loop over and over again with my thoughts. There's a passage in the Bible, specifically in the Old Testament, um, in Psalms. And from what I've understood, that Psalms were they were written almost as, sometimes they were cries out to God in the midst of anguish, in midst of frustration. Sometimes it was praises. This particular one in Psalm 46, it is that this particular individual, the author who's unknown, is feeling everything's coming down on him. It appears that he is at his nation and he is at war with other nations. And that in the midst of feeling like there's enemies on all sides, he needs to remember. And in Psalm 46:10, which has been infamously put on shirts and on plaques and on things that people hang up around their house, Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know I am God." Be still and know I am God. See, I think for me, that time period when I intentionally go into that space, I have to prepare myself sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, through movement or through tapping exercises or breathing exercises. But when I'm in that space, that sacred space for me, is that reminding myself that that sacred space is that God space, that it's always present, but it's fluid, meaning it's always constant, it's always there. It's fluid because I'm not always there. I sometimes I'm physically there, but mentally I'm somewhere else. Always present because I also have come to believe that my creator is always present, but I'm not. That I may be somewhere in the past, or I may be projecting something into the future. That I get tired and distracted and anxious or prideful. And when I'm hurting, I'm usually in my head thinking. My thinking, though it's a gift, is the same thing that will keep me stuck. I know that my thinking is both a gift as well as the thing that will get me into that, in that stuck mindset. It's only until I surrender and let go. Nothing on the outside may change, as I mentioned earlier, but I am different because now I see differently. This is that space where there's opportunity for creativity, innovation, hope, and love. I believe that that's what we refer to as be still and know. Be still and know that I'm God, that I'm not alone, that there's some bigger thing that's happening right now, that maybe in the middle of my mental stuckness and my thinking, that I'm only seeing it from my angle, not from either another person's or from a broader perspective. Though this is my favorite time, the stillness in the morning. If I'm intentional and open, I can hear the birds sing and the wind dance at any time throughout the day. I invite you into you finding your way into that stillness. As always, I very much appreciate you listening and very much appreciating any type of feedback that you have. Um, be good to yourself, be good to others, be well.